anytime two tropical systems could potentially get close to each other. As some long-range forecasts of Marco and Laura suggested last week, chatter starts about the so-called Fujiwhara Effect, a process in which two nearby vortices or storms can interact. Though this didn't end up happening with Marco and Laura, the topic deserves a closer look. It was October 1921 when Sakuhei Fujiwara published a paper on this topic in the Quarterly Journal of the Royal Meteorological Society, describing theoretically how two vortices that get close enough to each other would tend to orbit around a common center, an interaction that came to bear his name. Given today's powerful supercomputers, it's relatively easy to solve the equations that govern fluid motion to create realistic high-resolution simulations of what happens when multiple vortices get close to each other. This one created by meteorologist Jake Karstens of Florida State. Here's an actual model forecast a couple years ago in the Pacific, the animation courtesy of Philippe Papin, an atmospheric scientist at NOAA, that shows a typical Fujiwhara interaction between two storms, the blobs of pink here. As they get closer, their combined spin creates a larger overall circulation as the two storms start to pinwheel around a common point in between. As time goes on, the vortices are slowly drawn together, and by the end of their dance, one storm often dominates, with the weaker storm becoming just an appendage. This kind of interaction is very uncommon in the Atlantic Basin, in large part because the density of tropical cyclones there tends to be relatively small. The most recent example I could find, and it's far from classic, was late in the record-setting 2005 season when Hurricane Wilma essentially absorbed the remnant low that was once Tropical Storm Alpha. A better example from August 1995 involved Hurricane Iris and Tropical Storm Karen to its southeast. The interaction swept the weaker Karen on a spiral path around Iris before being absorbed. Fujiwhara interactions occur more frequently in the Pacific. In July 2017, the centers of Tropical Storms Irwin and Hillary in the eastern Pacific got within about 400 miles of each other before Hillary's circulation fell apart. At almost the same time, in the western Pacific, just east of Japan, Tropical Storm Kulop got a little too close to Typhoon Naru. This special water vapor image shows that Naru got the better part of that Fujiwhara interaction. That same general area sometimes even supports three nearby storms. Here's Odessa, Pat, and Ruby in August 1985. Near the end, you see Odessa and Pat pivot around each other as Pat passes right over the southern Japanese island of Kyushu. Now back to the present situation in the Atlantic. Marco dissipated back on Monday, so Hurricane Laura has had the Gulf of Mexico to itself these past few days, and it's poised to come ashore. Will we get any rain from its remnants here in Pennsylvania? Stay tuned. The extended forecast is next.